Welcome to our newest episode of the movie Potluck. This episode makes me really, really happy. And I had this super cheesy line to start as my intro, and it went something like this: Film is alive with the sound of music. And then I said it 2 or 3 times out loud, and I was like, that is too cheesy, and I just can't do it. So I said it, but there it is. We are going to talk about the unforgettable movie soundtracks that we just can't forget. And I know every single person has at least one movie that they feel is the epitome of this is the best sound, this has the best title intro, this has the best suspense music. When I was doing my unofficial research for this particular podcast, I asked my lengthy group of friends all about this. And let me tell you, this was the hottest contested topic that I think I've ever been involved in. Everyone has a different opinion about how well placed sound can either make or break a movie, and specifically about the score itself. So I'm going to dive in just a tiny bit to explain a little bit about why this speaks near and dear to my heart. So, recently I watched a couple of movies basically without sound, not without music, or I'm sorry, well, without sound a bit, but not without commentary, but without the actual sound of the film. And it was a really bizarre experience. And I thought, there's a lot of movies out there that when you don't hear sound attached to them, they just don't have the same impact. It just looks like a scattered group of images that kind of montage together, and you don't feel tension, you don't feel happy, you don't feel anything. And that's how intricate music is to our movies now. Now, one of the, I think, interesting things in recent times, and by recent I mean like in the past 50 years, we have really developed strong sound editing, and we have created musicals from Broadway or off Broadway to be produced inside of a cinematic experience. And that has opened up a door to all kinds of show tunes that we can experience far and wide that are absolutely amazing. Now, that's a little bit different from the actual score of the movie, but how fascinating is it that the moment that you, as an example, play the theme for West Side Story, everybody knows exactly what you're talking about. Oh, that's West Side Story. Or we had a few we were talking about the other day with Cats, and how the musicals themselves have really brought that piece, the music itself is sort of the score for the movie. But then there's other movies like Psycho, which had an amazing score to it. And then we hop over to The Birds, which had no sound in it at all. There was no score to The Birds. It was music free, which is something that I would love to have a conversation with my guests about soon. It is one of the few movies that really stands out as being scary and thrilling without having that attached to it. Interestingly enough, there are quite a few of these, but they don't all kind of stand out as, oh, yeah, but even without sound, it is absolutely amazing. Then there is, of course, the actual sound editing piece. And this is why it gets so contentious, because we specifically were talking about Star Wars. And everyone knows the title theme to Star Wars. And when it plays, everyone gets excited. And we were talking specifically about how Disney Plus has brought The Mandalorian to light, and how we now hear The Mandalorian and go, oh, it's Star Wars time, clearly meaning that it's Mandalorian time. But how fun is it that by extension, we're able to identify the things that we love in terms of movies and our and and the wider world of entertainment simply by hearing little bits of sound. Now, the discussion that we had in Star Wars was the person was saying that the TIE fighters have this unique screaming sound, and that's one of the things that always says to them, this is Star Wars, or Darth Vader breathing and things like that. And I agree that that is very consequential and it is very iconic to the Star Wars franchise. However, I don't think that I would actually consider that to be the score. The score to me is Lando Calrissian's Cloud City. The score to me is the Cantina theme, which everybody knows as soon as it plays. The score to me is more than just the title theme. It's all of the little themes, or I should say that all the little music that goes into the movies that we hear. Harry Potter, over the course of its many films, has amazing iconic pieces of music that are attached just to that movie, and when you hear it you know immediately that it's Harry Potter. So having said all of that, this time as we are discussing our movies, the movies that we chose, and what sort of makes an interesting sound score, or well, sound score is not the right word, I keep using that, what makes a really interesting movie score. As we're talking about this, what I want to sort of hone in on is whether we are more compassionate and sympathetic to the actual music by way of songs that we hear, or are we really attached to the score, that is that underlying music that tells us to take a breath, that tells us when there's something romantic that's going to happen, that tells us that there is some thrilling adventure sequence happening, or that there is some kind of jump scare, kind of coming. I really would love to know, sort of from my guests, and I've got my own opinions about how that makes us feel. So I am going to introduce my first guest. And first, this time, I'm going to go with Betty. Betty, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
Very good. Okay, so without telling me your movie, tell me something memorable about you being at the movies or hearing something in the movies that made you immediately feel like you connected with it.
Like any movie, not just the ones I chose.
Any movie.
So I still remember being a toddler and watching the opening sequence to Adventures in Babysitting.
Mm.
And every time I hear "and then he kissed me," I remember the opening scenes and everything she's doing. And um, I'm in love with Elizabeth Shue. So
I would say that that is a very successful use of music to tie into a film. Um, it also it just music sometimes gets overused in movies. There's a couple of songs like remember how I one of the pieces that I chose was Mystery Men, and one of the songs that they use in Mystery Men is Smash Mouth. um, they also use that in Shrek. They
oh
also
yeah.
use it in a couple of other movies. And so like it kind
Well,
of gets diluted a little, but
I'm
the
getting
songs that you're
the
talking about doesn't.
well, I'm getting sick of the song "Girls Just Want to Have Fun" because it's in movies too much, or it's in everything too
Mm,
much. Like I love the soundtrack to 13 going on 30 has a great soundtrack.
right?
I can't stand listening to "Girls Just Want to Have Fun" anymore. There she is.
I actually wanted to, I think, be her when I grew up too. So she's super, super, super cool. Okay, Tori, tell me give me an experience. It doesn't have to be part of your movie. Give me an experience that you remember where you really identified with a piece of music in a movie.
I would say Greece, honestly. I remember being young and wanting to be Sandy and thinking that I was in love for the summer. I don't know, summer love. It just the whole movie just made me want to sing. Also, The Little Mermaid. Let's go
Oh, The Little
Disney.
Mermaid.
Yeah.
I have a
I
question.
Okay,
really like that.
First Sandy or
yep.
second Sandy?
Oh, first Sandy.
Thank you.
Yeah. Totally prettier.
Important distinction. Important
Yes.
distinction. Um, I think that one thing that it gets, I don't want to say it gets confused, but it gets convoluted, is the way that certain songs in music, I'm sorry, in movies make us feel because of the music that's there. And then there are things like movies that don't have actual songs in them, but that have these really strong and dynamic sounds to them that maybe don't even, like, we don't necessarily identify them years later because they went by so fast. I can think of the score to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which just got redone. And I'm
Yeah.
not talking about that one, I'm talking about the original one,
Yeah.
is oddly discordant. It is oddly, like, it when you listen to it, it feels uncomfortable. And if you listen to it without the movie, it's even more uncomfortable because it just doesn't have a sense of harmony in it. It doesn't have a sense of rhythm in it. It's crazy. It just feels very weird. And so I I wonder sometimes if what we identify with more strongly is the score or the actual songs that they place in music. And for you guys both chose movies that actually have like whole songs in them. I actually chose movies that didn't have any songs in them. So that also is kind of interesting. I'll give you another example that I find super iconic and everybody knows. Um, Beetlejuice. If you play the theme to Beetlejuice, which plays throughout the movie, right? Everybody can identify that as, oh yeah, that's Beetlejuice.
Hmm.
And that seems to have just as strong of an impact. But I wonder how you guys feel about whether or not you feel like the songs are more important or the music is more important. What do you think? What do you think, Tori?
It's hard to say because you have movies like Jurassic Park that don't
Mm-hmm.
have any kind of songs in it, and it's all composition done with an orchestra and wonderfully done pieces. And then you have
Oh
movies,
God.
and then you have movies like Beetlejuice and you know other movies that
Legend.
have iconic stuff. Huh?
I was saying she's a legend.
Oh, she is a legend. She definitely is. Especially in that movie, she's divine. I love her. But then you got movies like Cruella, right? So
Oh yeah.
I was gonna bring this movie up. Might as well be now about how iconic each song was because it was such
Right.
a diversal '60s vibe to it, and it was really a great soundtrack. So, you know, it's hard to say. It's really hard
I
to
have to
say.
I have to say that on the whole, Disney I think does the best uh having movies that aren't necessarily musicals that still basically double as musicals.
Hmm.
So, and oftentimes it'll happen in the reverse way that it usually happens, where there's something Broadway or off Broadway that gains a lot of attention and becomes very popular, and then it comes to the screen, and that's how we see it, or how some people see it. But Disney seems to go exactly the opposite way, which is they make a movie, and then all of a sudden there's a play. So I'm just waiting for the Encanto play because I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
that I'm pretty sure that's going to
Um,
be happening.
like but Disney also has like they start with their they have an amazing composer and the lyricist that work together, like
Hmm.
Lincoln, um, and then his partner, I believe, before he died, like musical partner. So I think the fact that they actually hire um, like composers as opposed to just musicians.
right.
Well, Encanto was Lin Manuel, so
Yes, right.
yeah,
And
he absolutely.
he also did the Hawaiian movie.
Moana.
Yes,
Yes,
Moana.
he did Moana, and didn't he also do the one in Havana? Uh, is it called? It's not called Sing. It's called Soul. Didn't he also do the music for that as well?
I'm actually not sure. Soul, like Soul? I actually don't. Yes.
Yeah. I thought he did. Maybe he didn't though. It's possible. But you're right. The idea of having a lyricist along with your whoever it is that's going to basically do your score, that
Right.
does make a big difference. It makes a
I mean,
huge
Encanto was
difference.
amazing. Like
And Kanto is in a world by itself, I swear.
Luisa is the best. She has the best song, in my opinion. I know everyone
So,
loves Bruno, but
well,
Everyone's covering him.
everyone loved Bruno, but we don't talk about Bruno, so
right,
that's
correct.
okay. Um, okay, so aside from actual songs, right? Title themes always get so much attention, and I feel like for good reason, because title themes are usually very heavily invested in, right? The title theme from Jurassic Park, title theme from Harry Potter, title theme from, but then sometimes the title themes actually take on sort of a life of their own, and I love how that happens. The movie that I chose, one of the movies that I chose this time was Jaws, and you can't play the title theme of Jaws with the bottom bass line without sort of indicating something dangerous is going to happen. So if you attach Jaws to your TikTok, somebody is going to go, "Ooh, something scary is going to happen."
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is just, I mean, it's a little bit like it's a little bit bigger than having an earworm. It is something that is so ingrained in who we are that we end up feeling like it matters, right? Okay, so that's my first movie, and I have to say that Jaws part 1, part 2, part 3, all of the Jaws basically, they're not equal when it comes to their score. They all use that title sequence, the title score sequence, but they're not all equal when it comes to their actual score. The first Jaws uses sound and score music, the underlying music, in a way that not just builds tension but also releases tension, so that you know as the audience that it is okay to feel okay about something. There's a sequence where all the kids are out on the water, and it's beautiful. It's bright. It moves quickly. It has this like element of fluidity to it, just like you're on a boat sailing, and it's absolutely brilliant. That in juxtaposition with when we see the shark gives us this dramatic high and this dramatic low. And I love that about that particular film, that the sound is able to basically carry narration without us having to do any amount of should we be scared or should we be should we be a little bit pensive, should we be happy, what should happen here. So I would like to hear from now you, Tori. Tell me, what is your first movie and why did you choose it?
Okay, so my first movie is going to be, I'm going to go with Pulp Fiction first. And then my second one is even more iconic, but I think that the surfer rockabilly vibe that the whole movie gives just gives it life. Like, the dance scene and like everything vibed the whole, and it was completely different uh, artists and different like different decades of the music that um but it definitely gave it this pulp culture underground, and it was one of Quentin Tarantino's first movies. It just, he did a really good job picking out all the songs for his soundtrack on this one.
It
Did you
was
say
super
pulse
gritty.
culture?
Yeah, pulp culture, yeah.
Pop culture.
Because it's like, it's campy. Pulp Fiction is campy. So it was underground, and then it became this big thing. I don't think even Quentin Tarantino was equipped to handle the popularity of the movie. Because it kind of came out of nowhere and nobody heard about him before. My favorite movie of all time is True Romance, which is Quentin Tarantino's first screenplay, and like so I knew like back in the day, like Reservoir Dogs, all that. Like I knew he was a really great director, but like this movie put him into a different stratosphere of directing, in my opinion. And his vision of where he wanted the soundtrack to go was very precise. And I thought that was refreshing because a lot of times in movies, the soundtrack gets a little wishy washy. But it's nice when people have direction on how they want to match up the movie to the music, so it gives it a better experience. You know, I
That
think that's. Go ahead.
that's exactly what I was saying about Jaws as well. There is a tightness about when dramatic tension is supposed to happen and then when it's supposed to back off, and how oftentimes it is actually an intersplice between the two that creates the most peril in our minds, because you have this light bright music and then you have this really deep dark, something bad is happening just underneath the surface that you can't see, and yet you can hear it, you are experiencing it, you know what's coming. That to me is totally amazing, absolutely astounding.
I almost chose this was my third runner up was Halloween. I almost did that one, but I decided I was going to go with my second.
I feel, you know what? I feel like Halloween is also one of those iconic title themes that feel like the title theme itself carries the movie. And basically every time Michael Myers shows up or is going to be on screen, or we think he should be on screen, that discordant music plays in the background. And that is also super brilliant. A little sort of the little same kind of thing with Friday the 13th. A lot of the 80s musics did oh, wow, I haven't had enough coffee today. A lot of the 80s movies had music in their score that did something very similar. Friday the 13th with its was amazing. You can't hear, and there's music in the background to that, but you can't hear that without thinking, "Whoa, okay, Jason is around the corner." That yeah, it's that was really 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 good. Okay, Betty,
Well, they use it to
share with
voice.
us yours.
They use it to force your emotion. Um, so my first soundtrack was Flashdance.
Oh, nice.
It's like every time you play that song, you can visualize what's the dance she's doing and
Yeah.
the water scene, and it's funny. I mean, it's upbeat. It puts you in a mood. It's a vibe, as the kids would say these days.
Yeah.
Do you think that, okay, so big question. Do you think the movie could have carried itself without the soundtrack?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I kind of wonder myself.
No,
I don't know if the movie was strong enough.
no. I mean, no. I mean, she's like charming and everything, but I mean, she's a dancer as well. So if you have a really terrible soundtrack for a dancer, you're just gonna think they're a terrible dancer. Like in Save the Last Dance, everyone makes fun of what's her name now because of that stupid dance at the end. But
Oh, right.
you still I I don't know. I think Flashdance would probably end up the same way if it had a terrible soundtrack. You would not be as interested. You also wouldn't be as like hyped up. I feel like it builds you up.
Definitely. And there is also y- there's also something about the lyrics in Flashdance, all the way through all of the songs, that lend themselves to the actual story going on, so it's not just disconnected,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
um so okay, so another sort of, and this is a little bit outside of the realm of just basic score, but have you ever watched something and thought the music doesn't match what's happening on the screen? Have you ever seen a movie or even a show like that?
I'm sure I have, but I can't think of anything.
What about you, Tori?
Repeat the question. I'm sorry.
So have you ever watched a movie and thought the sound really doesn't match. I'm not talking about the sound like the Foley sounds. I'm talking about like the actual score. The score just doesn't really match what's happening in the
Mamma Mia,
background.
the movie,
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one.
partly because Meryl
that's
Streep is.
mm,
poor
I
Meryl
don't
Streep.
know. I'm thinking of like the Golden Girls and like all these really good ones. Like I'm not thinking of any bad
Well,
ones.
Gilmore Girls is amazing.
I
That's
know.
like that.
Maybe like MASH because like it's a war. And it's like I don't know. Maybe
Oh, that one is iconic too.
So
yeah.
I'm gonna throw one out here and
Please,
let's see what we can come up with. First, you know what? I'm gonna take a quick pause and I'm going to introduce our surprise third guest, Kinte.
Yay.
hi.
Kinte!
Hi,
Welcome
how y'all
back to the
doing?
land of the living.
I'm so glad to be here with you fine people.
Are you doing okay?
Yeah, I'm it's been crazy, but I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're super excited to have you here too. Everyone, internet world, this is Kinte. Everybody knows Kinte. Kinte,
How do I
Tori,
sound?
Betty,
You
you
said
sound awesome.
there's a little bit of a background noise, like a little bit.
What about now?
Still,
Really? Still?
now
I
it's a little
actually,
bit better now.
It's
Oh,
funny.
okay.
I didn't realize I heard it until you said it was there.
Mhm. Is that Betty uh Josh's sister?
Yes, it
Betty?
is.
Oh, you don't remember me, but yeah, we met a long time ago.
I do remember, but I vaguely remember.
Mhm.
Like I knew I. That's about
Hi,
it.
so
how you doing?
so we'll have a podcast on that meeting someday because that sounds interesting. Um, so
Yeah.
Kinte, we're talking about sound. Specifically, we're talking about scores and movies. And I was asking everyone if they had ever seen a movie where the sound didn't seem to quite match with the movie that they were watching.
Mm-hmm.
Can you think of any?
Where the sound didn't match with the movie that.
No, this could be on purpose because the one that I have in mind, I feel like it is absolutely on purpose.
Uh huh. Hmm. That's a great question. Where it doesn't match. Um, I don't know. Maybe that Anne Boleyn movie. What was it? Anne Boleyn? No, not Anne Boleyn. The one that Sophia Coppola did. Not Anne Boleyn. It was Let Them Eat Cake.
Oh,
Oh,
and
Oh,
Wait, say it again.
some Antoinette,
Yeah,
Marie
yeah.
Antoinette.
Marie Antoinette movie. Maybe
Yeah.
that might be one.
was that the name of the movie? Was the name of the movie Marie Antoinette?
No, no, I can't remember what the name of the movie was, but it was just that Sophia Coppola movie of that. I think that one, if I remember correctly, that one was a little off, but I mean it was intentional. So
Well,
Okay,
some movies that are like. What are some movies that are based in like the 1800s and have pop music or
now
rock
now
music?
okay. See, now there is like if we go back to A Knight's Tale, right? In A Knight's Tale, they are actually in the Middle Ages and they are playing Queen music, right?
I feel like
hmm.
there's a lot of music like that, like a lot of movies like that.
Right, and that we know that that is 100% intentional. That's 100% intentional.
wait
But
a
then there's
minute, wasn't Queen around there in that time?
yeah, yeah, they were back in the Middle Ages too. Yeah, yeah, they've been around that long. That Freddie Mercury really had a long
I mean,
run. Yes,
we know he wasn't mortal.
yeah, exactly. Yes. Hey, not to get off topic, but because I have something important to say, but not to get off topic, but did you guys know that they are remaking Highlander?
Yes,
Isn't
I
that
posted a
exciting?
meme the other day. I posted a meme the other day. I was excited about it too.
Okay, I'm
That's the
super
guy that had a
excited
motorcycle.
Huh?
about the motorcycle.
I think I'm thinking of a different. I don't know what Highlander is.
Highlander is there can be only one. It's there is iconic Queen music in it where basically Freddie Mercury uh and well, I don't know if it was all Queen, but they made a lot of the soundtrack to the original Highlander film, and it's absolutely astounding. It's really, really, really
I
good.
It's
think
really good.
the only way you can kill him is behead him, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you have to behead them, right? And
Yeah.
then of course they say there can be only one. I mean that's
And
like
they
a
say
line
like
we
five
actually
in
say
it,
in our
right?
house. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then you know what? What's interesting? The only way you can kill Josh Chitty is you got to behead him.
He stole
Yeah.
that. He stole that from Highlander.
So I was actually thinking of the movie The Witch. Have you guys seen the movie The Witch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and the music in the background, if you listen to the score of that movie, it is crazy discordant. Very little lines up properly with the proper rise and fall of action in the film, and that off-puttingness, that sense of time is out of sync, is absolutely what the movie is about. Time is so out of sync in the movie, and it to me, those little pieces are so brilliant. As much as I love my Star Wars title theme, as much as I love my Jaws title theme, as much as I love that, I love creative uses of sound as, and especially music, as a way to sort of perpetuate how we are supposed to feel about things. And then when movies mix that up, it is insanely good because it's so unexpected. Um, so I absolutely love that. All right, Kente, I'm going to give you a chance. Tell us a movie that you feel had an epic score to it, a score that you just cannot forget.
Oh wow, there's so many. My favorite movie of all time that has one of the cold-blooded scores is The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. That movie is, first of all, that movie is so freaking epic. I love that movie. It's one of those movies that I watch it at least once a year. Actually, I'm actually due to watch it sometime. Who knows? I
Next
might.
week, next
Yeah,
Thursday.
I love that movie so much. I've loved it as a kid before I realized what it was. I mean, it's just something, and the iconic score, that and then it's just so epic. And then that final scene, with the close up of the eyes and all of that stuff. I mean, I've seen it 100 million times, and it still feels like it's still like I still have this what's gonna happen feel, if that makes sense, even though I know what's
Yeah.
gonna happen. I
Yep.
mean, this is my favorite movie of all time. I love this movie, and I love every beat of the movie, even the parts that people say are slow or whatever. I just love this movie, and it opens up iconic, and the score is tremendous. And
And when you hear
Morricone's the man.
and when you hear just the small snip of sound, you know exactly what movie you're talking about. Like you could pick that sound up and put it into another western, and it would feel really weird because you know that that's the sound for the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Um, and so is that just one score? Do you want me to another one?
Well, we picked two movies, so I'm gonna move on to Betty and
Oh,
ask
okay.
her about her
Mhm.
second movie, and then I will come back to you,
Oh,
and you
sure,
can
sure.
come up with the second movie. All right, Betty, lay it on us. What's your second movie?
Well, I just want to say quickly, Anne of Green Gables is my favorite movie, and it has an excellent soundtrack as well. But most people wouldn't know it. But my second movie was Chicago,
Oh, Chicago.
which is basically the entire movie is basically they sing it.
That goes back to what we were talking about before about the musical itself being basically the underlying principle for the entire movie. So the music becomes everything.
Oh yeah, it's I think it's brilliant the way because I went and saw that. I've seen the Broadway version 3 times, and I hated it. But
Oh
I
no.
went for it was so boring. So I actually usually it's the other way around, and I think they did a brilliant job of integrating the music and her visions into creating this.
So
It's so good.
I think sometimes, and especially when it comes to musicals. In fact, over the weekend I watched West Side Story. the new one, and I was pretty impressed with the the both the integration of the music and then the underlying music in the in between spaces where we don't actually have uh, the tunes themselves, the actual songs themselves, um, and so much has to come together for that to work because the songs generally are so powerful and so strong that any of the music that is sort of in that in between space has to sort of carry that same level, that same caliber, the same greatness about it. Otherwise, it feels like it's stuck in there. It feels like a band aid in between.
Right.
Um, and there actually, you know what? There are some Disney movies that I feel like that happens with, and it makes them much less enjoyable. So there's that, yes. But that is a really good choice. Okay, Tori, tell us what your second movie is.
The Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club.
Yes. So
Why did you pick Breakfast Club?
because the entire movie and the soundtrack goes together perfectly. There's shenanigans in the library. Yeah, and like you hear, "Don't you forget about me," and like what movie is on without even having to look at the TV, and that to me is that's what you were asking for, in my opinion. Like, and each character had parts of their songs that related to them, and I thought that was brilliant too. Like, it's just, it's to me a very well put together and well thought out soundtrack.
So I will say one thing about many John Hughes movie, right? Many of the movies that John Hughes put together have the most amazing soundtracks in them, not just because they are iconic, but because they almost carry the movie.
Hmm.
Um, a couple of months ago, back in I think it was December, we watched or rewatched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles
Good
with
one.
Steve Martin and John Candy, and there are riffs. Well, riffs maybe is the wrong word, but there are pieces of sound in there, music in there that you only hear in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and you know exactly what it is. And I feel like a lot of Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller, Uncle Buck, 16 Candles, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Weird Science, they all have that same feeling to them where the music really carries the actual narrative, which is
Hmm.
so cool. And you're right, that kind of is what I was talking about. Um I think recently, now this isn't a movie, so nobody get mad, but recently, everybody knows that I was so into Peacemaker. And Peacemaker, I don't I everyone who's seen Guardians of the Galaxy knows that James Gunn is just amazing at putting together music into his films, right? Well, he also did Peacemaker, and to no one's surprise, there are at least two or three songs in each one of the episodes that just they're magic. They just fit and line up so well. I I I'm super happy that the songs themselves fit so really 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 well. But I have to say that I think one of the things that makes movies so successful is see, now up on the screen is Peacemaker and John Cena doing the intro dance, which I have to say, every single time that we watched this series, we never once skipped the intro, which is I skipped the intro on everything, and I didn't skip the intro even once on this. Um, I think one of the things that happens when, especially in the '80s, that we had kind of going was we really expected songs to be a little bit more powerful, and we relegated a lot of sound experience to sort of the background. But now fast forward, and we have movies like Toy Story, where it's you not just have music that is iconic, but you also have songs that are created directly for the movie that fit perfectly in. That to me is sort of like the best of both worlds, where you have both of those pieces going together.
Up had at least
Um,
two. Had a good one.
what's that?
The movie Up had at least had like the first part where
Oh
he's doing
yeah,
stuff that's so good.
I
Yeah.
I I absolutely, and whenever you hear the music from Up, you either know that it's going to be something that's going to turn sad, or it's going to be something that you want to feel nostalgic about,
Mm-hmm.
which I also very much appreciate. Okay, Kente, tell us what your second movie is. Give us a memorable sound score.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many films to talk about, but I think one of the greatest scores, and we're going to the genre of horror, is the Halloween score.
Yeah, Tori picked that too. Yeah,
Oh,
that's a great one. No, go
that
with that.
score. I mean, there's the epic, dun, 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 but then it's like then there's all the different, you know, um, moments. The score is just, it's just a great score. I mean, I like what he did when he remixed it for the 2018 film as well, and even the one that came out this year, Kills. But um, but going back to that original score, it, it's so iconic, and it's one of those things where you take away that score, the movie is not as great as it was. Wrong movie. Uh, uh, but the Halloween score, I think it's highly rated but underrated, if that makes any sense to you guys.
Well, John Carpenter as a composer is he stands in a class by himself the same way that a lot of, I would say, like late 20th century, early 21st century composers do. They stand out. And I have to say, I don't know, this brings up a good question. So without going too far off topic, let me introduce my second movie, and then I'm going to ask you guys all a question about who your actual favorite composers are, and specifically composers for movies. So set that aside. So no Bach and no Mozart. Um, my second
What about
movie.
Rick James?
Yeah,
Rick
okay.
James.
I mean, if you think Rick James could compose a movie soundtrack, I'm down for that. All
I'm
right.
sure he would.
My second movie is Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and I feel like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Well, thank you for that title card with music by John Williams. Was not just gorgeous. The movie itself, the music. I could listen to this soundtrack all by itself without anything else going on and be absolutely enthralled. It's just that good. Um, there's something I think almost poetic in that film about that music fitting with that narrative. It just worked so well. Um, and to be honest, in terms of who our favorite composers are, sometimes I feel like our favorite composers are the people who create the movie scores for the movie that we liked best. But I sometimes have different feelings about that, because I don't always think that the person who is behind the scenes necessarily gets like enough credit for some things, and maybe they didn't do something big budget. And I'll give you a great example. Kente and I actually talked about this the other day. One of my favorite composers right now, and he does more than just series, he does movies too. He did The Boy, he's done a million. His name is Bear McCreary, and he is, I think, I don't even know if he just turned 50, something like that. He just had a big milestone birthday. But his body of work is absolutely breathtaking. He did the title theme to a series that Kente and I did on podcast called Black Sails, but he's also done The Walking Dead. And then he's done so many horror movies now that if you look, you'll see music Bear McCreary. And what I find fascinating about that is even though he doesn't have anything that's like, oh, at the top of an Academy Award at the moment, his music feels that big. It just doesn't have something attached to it that is that's big enough to have that kind of accolade behind it. Um, so that's mine. So Betty, tell us, who is your favorite movie composer?
Um, I guess I'm gonna go with Menken and Ashman together because they made like Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid,
Oh, good.
and they made a really great team. I mean, obviously they're well remembered soundtracks. I believe Beauty and the Beast was um, it was nominated for um, Oscar, right? I can't
It,
remember. And then
I think it was. I think the soundtrack was.
first
Yeah.
animated, yeah. So I would have to go with them, even though
That
I was
is
very close to choosing the composer for Anne of Green Gables. That's the only piece of music I know he's written is for those first two movies. So
um Betty is going to be competing with me to see if I haven't done this often now on this podcast, but usually ask Kinte. Every conversation that we have, I have to at least bring up Joseph Campbell one time. Just one time, just even if it's just to throw it in there. Yes. So
so
I
Anne
feel
of
like
Green Gables and I'm gay.
you're off to you're off
Those
to
are
a good
things
start,
every
Betty.
episode.
Okay,
Oh,
Tori, tell me, who is your favorite movie composer?
I'm gonna go with John Williams too. Yes, it's Kinte. That's Kinte. No, um, and I'm gonna go with John Williams too, but with Jurassic Park because I remember being a kid, and that was one of my first ever CDs. I got it for my birthday. Like I had Jurassic Park everything, but like I really did like the soundtrack, and I was like 9 or 10 listening to it. Like, what kid listens to classical music? But I just loved it. And
Oh,
dun
absolutely.
dun 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 dun. Dun. Like I hear it all in my head. Like it won't leave. Sometimes it won't leave for days, but that's okay.
Uh,
No, but
okay, so I have a very short but very important anecdote before I ask Kinte who his favorite composer is. When I
Antidote to what?
No, anecdote, not antidote.
Oh, oh,
If you
oh.
need if you need an antidote to my anecdote, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to flip the station. Um, I when my kid was about 4, I purchased for him the uh, the Jurassic Park movie. And I really wasn't thinking at the time that my kid was probably a little bit too young to watch Jurassic Park. And I turned it on and he was instantly like, "No, turn this off." And then for days afterwards, he would ask me to play the music. Mom, can you play the end music?
Oh,
So we would turn the movie on and we would go all the way to the end and just play the music. Okay, fast forward about 3 months, we had given my son this little tiny fit on his teeny tiny desk Casio keyboard, and within 3 months, he had learned how to play the theme to Jurassic Park on his little tiny
oh,
Casio. So, never underestimate the power of good music and what it does to your brain and how creative it can make you. So, I
that's
just
how
had
I
to
feel
tell that
about
story.
Hamilton. I don't really like the
Yes.
show. It's kind of boring, but the music is brilliant.
The music to Hamilton is absolutely
It's
amazing.
so good. Like whenever they
Lin
do the
Manuel
walking scene, so good.
Lin Manuel is such a brilliant lyricist that it's hard to overstate that. It's hard to give him enough credit for what he does. Absolutely,
Yeah,
positively.
he has a specific style. Like you
Yes.
do still know it's him.
Yep. Yep. That's how I felt about Encanto. I felt like this was all the brilliance of Lin Manuel in sort of a story form that was for everybody.
Yeah,
It yeah.
I didn't know he was doing it, and I was listening to it. And I'm like, this sounds like it's a Broadway soundtrack.
Yep.
And I was like, it's Lin Manuel because you know it's him when he does something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Okay, Kinte, tell us, who is your favorite movie composer?
Just as a side note about Lin Manuel, it's like he has a machine or something that he could just he just pulls out these hits, man. Like that guy's a
He blows
robot,
my mind.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's I got to give him a lot of credit. And
He's a
as
cyborg.
oh, just as a side note, the cinematographer for Halloween is the same cinematographer for Jurassic Park. So
Oh,
another, yeah, that guy, and Back to the Future as well. He did that as well. But anyway, um, composers. I love Morricone, but the guy that I really think is just underrated but rated high is Michael Giacchino. That dude, man, he just did the score for the Batman. I don't know if anybody's seen the
yeah,
Batman. That score is fucking amazing, man. I mean, and it's funny because it sounds kind of like the Darth Vader theme from Star Wars a little bit, but he did the score for the TV show Lost, which was amazing score.
right, right.
A lot of video games, Pixar movies, I believe he did as well. Giacchino is the man. That guy is, yep, music by Michael Giacchino. That guy, to me, he's my favorite one right now. Is Giacchino, and like when I need a temp score from I'm working on a project, I always, when I get stuck, I always look at Giacchino. I was like, he won't let me down. I will always find something in his archive that I can use to temp score something I'm working on. So he's my favorite.
So I'm going to give honorable mention to Hans Zimmer just because
Oh
Hans
yeah.
Zimmer is another one that I can just listen to an entire Spotify list of just Hans Zimmer music and never be bored and never feel like the music is anything less than absolutely stellar.
Frozen,
Just
right?
good.
He did Interstellar.
He did Interstellar, he did The Lion King, he did
Oh yeah.
Gladiator, he did Rain Man.
He's good. Yeah.
He's
All
done
you had to see was the Lion
so
King, and that
much.
was it. You know, like.
Yeah. I think
I'm talking about the new Lion King, right?
Hans Zimmer has
Well, John
scored.
Copeland, right?
He did the new Lion King score.
I I, I no. I mean, he did the
I thought
original.
Wasn't it like Elton John or
Yeah.
something? Did
Oh
the
yeah, the music by, but the score for the
Oh,
movie was Hans
oh, okay.
Zimmer. Yeah.
thank you. At least I
Oh,
wasn't the only one who
Um,
was like Elton John, right?
he Hans Zimmer has done things. He has like I think he has over 300 movies that he has done scores
Um,
for,
he's
and
also
he's worked with Ridley Scott. He's worked with Ron Howard. He's worked with Christopher Nolan. In fact, Hans Zimmer did I believe didn't Hans Zimmer also do Willow Tori?
He did. That was
So
a
I
great soundtrack too. That was a
yeah,
great.
right, that very iconic, very sort of different and away from all kinds of other things. Um, I had to give an honorable mention
can
because
we can,
that music was
can we give out some
yes.
honorable mentions?
Give out some honorable mentions. Go ahead.
The great Danny Elfman, right? He's pretty
Danny
awesome.
Elfman
yep.
for absolute sure.
Yeah, he's great. You know, there's, I mean, look, I guess we can go all night long with uh, with great composers, but I felt like, yeah, I had to mention him because that guy's been great for a long time, and
I,
coming from Oingo Boingo to to now being a great composer.
See, when it comes
Oh
to
yeah.
when it comes to songs, right? Like Paul Williams is an amazing songwriter and also a beautiful composer as well. But in terms of just the actual score for movies, there is less sort of Paul Williams experience than there would be Danny Elfman or Hans Zimmer or some of the other ones that we just talked about. John Williams, they all have sort of different aspects to them, but from a songwriting standpoint, that's slightly different than our actual movie scores. So that's why there's that difference. Okay, so I realize we're kind of running over, so I am going to ask each and every one of you, what dish are you bringing to our movie potluck? You can choose either movie or you can choose both, but lay some awesomeness on me so that we can feast while listening to all of this greatness. Betty, let's start with you.
I'm gonna say, um, I guess a Manhattan because like Chicago and pizza bites with flatulence.
Hey, that's awesome. Very good.
I love
I'm
it.
to- I'm totally gonna go with that. Okay. All right, Tori, lay it on us. What do you got?
A royale with cheese,
Obviously,
Of course.
obviously.
Of course.
Oh, you said Pulp Fiction?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Great,
wasn't even
great.
there for it.
Yeah, one of the best uses of music. Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
Kinte, what do you got? What's your movie?
For my two movies.
If it can be from one or the other, just
All
pick a
right.
movie and
So
pick a
for
dish.
the good, the bad, the ugly, some gumbo,
Some
and
gumbo.
yeah, and we'll stay in the seafood realm with Halloween coconut shrimp.
Oh, there you go.
oh, okay.
Now, okay, so in preparation for this, we actually did rolled sushi for Jaws
mm,
because obviously, you
the
know.
Grinch.
Now, we went the extra step, and I have pictures. I will post them as soon as I can. We have these bloody fingers that are actually just confection, but we stuck the bloody fingers into the sushi, and it turned out so cool.
I
It
think
just,
French fries were so long because of that movie where they had the French fries that were fingers instead.
Yeah,
oh,
Hitcher.
right, the
It's the Hitcher.
Hitcher.
Nope,
You know what though?
I was
What
small when I saw that, and all I know is that one scene of that movie, and I could not eat French fries.
did Josh donate his fingers for the meal?
No, he didn't actually donate his fingers. We had to go pick those up at another location, which I'll keep secret because we don't want our body part factory to get into trouble or anything. Uh,
Your body
actually,
farm. Yeah.
actually, the thing is, you buy these at Halloween and you stock up on them because they never sell them at any other time of the year. So we stock up on these things, and then they come in so handy all year long. Yes. Sorry, pardon the pun. I didn't mean that, but anyway. Okay. So Kinty, I'm going to start with you on our outro. Also, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. Um, I am so glad to see that you're back, and I'm so glad to see and hear your voice. I can't tell you how much joy it actually brings me. So thank you so much for coming. Tell
Yeah,
us.
look, it looks like I might be coming down with a cold, not COVID. Uh, so you always got to say that. Just I just have a little congestion, but you can get me at Kente F on Twitter. Get me at Kente Ferguson on Instagram. And of course, the website is theindyradio.com. That's INDY radio.com. I want to thank everybody here. Of course, it's great to see your face, Tori. It's been a while since I've seen
I
your face.
know.
It's great to see Betty's face. It's been a really a long time. And the voice of God somewhere out there, Josh. What's up, dude? And of course, you,
More
Jen.
complex, please.
And of course, you, Jen.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate you coming on. Tori, how can we get you on social media and all that other good stuff?
Okay, you can also find me at theindyradio.com. All of my past episodes for The Infectious Geek are on there. My podcast, The Infectious Geek, is on my Facebook and my YouTube channel every Friday night at 9 p.m. So join me for that. And I also started a podcast with my friend Destiny, and we talk about all things pot related. So that's fun. So you can catch
Nice.
me at Tori Rush on Facebook and Rush Tori on Instagram.
Very cool.
Is that a suggestion
Yes, that is
to rush Tori?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep, you got it.
And Betty, how can we find you on social media?
I am on Instagram and TikTok at Betty Chitty Bang Bang. Um, I'm more on TikTok. I put everything from TikTok onto Instagram. But either way,
Very nice. And you can find me at my blog, moviesandmeals.com. I promise I will add those images of the sushi with the severed fingers because I just thought they were so cool.
Mhm.
And we already hid the ones with the bloody rats, Kinte, so it's safe to go visit the site now.
Oh, good. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
like that. Mm. Mm-mm. And you know what? That's one of my only things when we do movies. No rat movies,
no rat movies,
including Ratatouille.
Oh
including. Okay.
no! Come
But
on,
but I
Ratatouille.
Well,
will let you do Tom and Jerry.
Oh, okay.
Tom and
Thanks.
Jerry, but no Ratatouille. It's the cutest little rat.
I know. Yes,
Rats in the
He,
kitchen? Are you
he
kidding me?
cooks,
but he's it with the hair and like
and I'm sure he's hygienic. He uses
yeah,
he did
washes his
wash his
little
hands.
paws.
Yeah,
You
he
go
did
if I
definitely.
invited you over for dinner and you saw a bunch of rats cooking in my kitchen, I don't think you would think that was cool.
it depends. Are you a
I
cartoon?
mean, they're magical rats, so I have
See,
to
there
like
you go.
If
you
it was
There
a
you
know.
go.
cartoon, then I'd be like, okay,
So okay, you want Willard cooking you food?
who's
Well,
Willard?
he's not exactly magical, but okay. Wait, this is a okay. This is a not a great segue, but it's still I'm going to force it to be a segue into our next episode. And Tori, your background couldn't be more fitting and apt. Um, Simply because there is a skull and crossbones, and next week's edition is all about the swashbucklers. So
Oh
our
yay!
movie choices are any kind of swashbuckling action heroes. So it doesn't have to be pirates, but pirates definitely tend to make up the majority of them. But if you have somebody who you think is the best, bring them in and let's talk about it. So that's our episode for next week. I'm super excited. Uh, nice job, Josh. I'm super excited about next week. We will see you then. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. I had a great time. We'll see you
Thank
next
you.
week.